Well, welcome to this edition of the 700 Club. Can the government force a business to provide abortion for its employees? Can a government force a business to provide morning after pills, which some consider abortion? Is that a woman's right to have its employer or her employer provide that for free? Is that a right we have under our Constitution? Well, the Supreme Court is going to be dealing with that. And before we get to that story, I want to tell you we've got a much happier bit of news. Blue, the famous dog, is going to be here. In popular demand, people say, we've got to see Blue. So yes. Blue is going to be here doing his Blue things. We haven't seen him in a while. I know. He's been in hiding. Have pictures of the Blue Mobile, and Blue will be leaping and jumping and showing what a nice dog he is. Yes, a very happy day indeed. All right, good to see you. Yeah, likewise. Thank you. Well, the news media call it a battle for women's rights, as we said. Others call it a fight for religious liberty. But now the Supreme Court is being called in as a referee. That's right. Obamacare is on the High Court's docket. At odds, the law requires companies to provide insurance for its employees' birth control, which also includes the morning after pill. But as Paul Strand reports, Christian business owners say that violates their conscience.
The sides are radically divided by this case. One side said at the court business owners shouldn't be allowed to keep their workers from getting any kind of free contraception offered under Obamacare.
What do you want? Birth control! When do you want it? Always!
But others said believers shouldn't lose their religious freedom and be forced to provide contraceptives that kill just because they own a business.
My faith, my freedom, my business.
Demonstrators for and against those businesses gathered by the hundreds as the court heard what some call the most important religious liberty case in a generation. Demonstrators from both sides are out here all revved up in front of the court, but all of a sudden they're going to be thrown into a legal limbo for weeks, maybe months, as the justices go off to consider this case. Hobby Lobby is one of the Christian-owned businesses that brought this case.
The choice that the government has forced on us is unfair and not in keeping with the history of our great nation, founded on religious freedom.
Their lead lawyer said under Obamacare, this is their stark choice.
For a company like Hobby Lobby is the option to either pay a $475 million per year fine or to pay a $26 million per year fine or comply with the government's mandate.
But the head of Planned Parenthood said the business owner's beliefs shouldn't trump what Obamacare demands women be given for free.
What's at stake in this issue, in this case, is whether millions of women and their right to preventive care, including birth control, is trumped by a handful of CEOs who have their own personal opinions about birth control.
Access to contraceptive care can make a world of difference. It can help improve the health of our nation, and Lord knows we need to see that happen.
But Father Frank Pavone warned the pro-life movement needs to fear this case if the government wins.
What these business owners are objecting to is the destruction of human life by some of these drugs that the government is saying are preventive services that should be provided in all these health insurance plans. It's about the destruction of life. So as soon as the government says, whether to a business or to a religious group, that you have to allow this, you have to cooperate in this, then that has implications for the entire movement.
Pro-life leader Eric Scheidler saw a pro-choicer holding a sign outside the court that horrified him for its implications.
It was a picture of a Hobby Lobby store saying, "This is not a church." The message was, religion only belongs in church. That's really what is going on here. There is a movement in our country to force religion within the four walls of the church and not allow any kind of public expression of our faith. That's really what's at stake here.
Paul Strand, CBN News, the Supreme Court.
Well, this is what happens, ladies and gentlemen, when an overreaching government decides it's going to take 1/6 of the economy and force people into their mold. Now, of course, if we were in the old Soviet Union, the old communist state, there wouldn't be any question. But so far, this is the land of the free and the home of the brave. But by the way, we've been saying it here on this program, but a D.C. Circuit Court judge said what we've thought. They called Obamacare, quote, an unmitigated disaster. That's yet another case questioning the president's health care law. John Jessup has more on that story from our CBN News Bureau in Washington.
Pat, the top U.S. Circuit Court is leaning toward not siding with the president on Obamacare. At least 2 judges on the 3-judge panel don't think the government can subsidize insurance premiums on exchanges run by Washington. One judge calls it a disaster, wondering if the law was too poorly written to salvage. The Washington Times reports Judge A. Raymond Randolph also said, "I know there's an absurdity principle, but is there a stupidity principle? If the law is just too stupid, I don't think it's up to the court to save it." The debate happened at the D.C. Circuit Court just blocks away from the Supreme Court. Yet another delay to the health care law. The administration is extending the enrollment deadline for those who started the process before the deadline but can't complete it in time. No word on how long the extension will last. The White House needs to meet its goal of 6 million enrollees in healthcare exchange markets by March 31st. So far, a little more than 5 million are enrolled. A recent survey shows the healthcare.gov website is slower than most, taking nearly 9 seconds for the homepage to load. In comparison, a leading private health insurance website takes about 5 seconds. Pat?
The question, they aren't revealing, excuse me, I choked. They aren't revealing how many people have actually paid something. These figures are as phony as a $3 bill, so they're doing everything they can to hype this thing to make it look like it's successful. And so far, it is, as that judge said, an unmitigated disaster. John.
Pat, workers digging through the debris of that mudslide in Washington state face a dirty, discouraging job. So far, 16 bodies have been recovered. Searchers say they found even more still trapped in the mud, and over 100 people are still unaccounted for. Meanwhile, as Charlene Aaron reports, crews are fighting continuous rain, which brings the threat of another landslide.
Rescue workers sludged through wet conditions and debris in the search for survivors, using everything from heavy equipment and search dogs to their bare hands. The mud's so thick in some areas, geologists say it's like adding hundreds of pounds on each leg.
They're literally getting stuck, sometimes all the way up to their waist, which means then they need help getting out of that area.
Adding to the misery, a flood warning is in effect, bringing fears of another landslide.
We had a very challenging day today with the rain, and that just further complicated things.
The National Guard and more than 200 search crews continue to comb the area where the landslide consumed an entire community. But officials caution it is extremely unlikely that anyone will be found alive.
We did recover 2 additional fatalities today. That brings our fatality rate to 16. We've located another 8 fatalities. However, we have not recovered those at this time.
They're trying to ping for cell phones for the purposes of essentially locating individuals in the debris.
The mudslide hit Saturday morning, destroying some 35 homes in its path. 45-year-old Chris Jeffords was home with her 4-month-old granddaughter when the wall of mud came crashing in. Her husband, a volunteer firefighter, away with his daughter at the time.
And I started to get text messages from people who had tried to call her, and she wasn't responding, and then it starts to sink in.
Authorities say victims may also include non-residents passing through in their cars on nearby State Highway 530. Meanwhile, members of this close-knit community held a vigil in honor of those lost, while praying for miracles that more survivors can be found. There is evidence the mudslide could have been prevented. A 1999 report warned that the area had the potential for a large catastrophic failure. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
There are new clues in the search for that missing Malaysian airliner. Satellite images show over 100 objects in the area where the search is taking place. This week, Malaysia's Prime Minister announced the plane went down in a remote part of the Indian Ocean, killing all 239 passengers and crew. Loved ones of those on board are still demanding proof of that claim. 6 different countries continue to search an area covering more than 600,000 square miles, roughly the size of Alaska. The Prime Minister of Australia calls it the most inaccessible spot imaginable. President Obama is trying to minimize Vladimir Putin's power grab in Ukraine. He says Russia is merely a regional power and that Putin is acting out of weakness. Still, Obama said Russia's actions demand a response from international allied powers. Here in the U.S., Democrats in the Senate are now dropping a provision that had held up congressional sanctions against Russia and aid for Ukraine. Meanwhile, Ukraine's defense minister resigned Tuesday as thousands of soldiers withdrew from the Crimean Peninsula, leaving Russian forces in total control. Pat?
Thanks. John, you know, a few years ago, as I was praying, the Lord told me that the old Soviet Union was going to collapse. And that seemed like a far distant dream, but indeed it did collapse. But then he said, it will be the most dangerous. And I frankly believe, although their forces are weak, they have an incredible array of nuclear weapons. They have nuclear launch vehicles. They have intercontinental ballistic missiles. They have any number of warheads. And they could blow this country right to kingdom come if it so chose. Now, obviously, we don't want to push them to that point. We pushed the Japanese so far in World War II that they were forced to react, and next thing you know, we had a rather unpleasant war. This war would be the war to end civilization. And I don't know if Putin is emotionally stable or not, but most dangerous. And this is an extremely dangerous time. I don't want to back down or anything like this, but we've got to be measured in how we meet this thing, because if we meet it too overtly and we make all kinds of disparaging remarks, we can't insult him. We got to put things in the way. We have to have force. We have to beef up NATO. We have to do all these things. And yes, we can deny them access to the G8, etc. But I just want to caution this nation and those dealing with this that we've got somebody who is emotionally and intellectually unstable. He's a megalomaniac. And he has at his disposal an awesome array of life-destroying weapons. John?
Pat, a recent Lifeway research poll shows 54% of Americans think religious liberty is on the decline. One example is playing out in Wisconsin. Governor Scott Walker recently tweeted Philippians 4:13. The verse says, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." The atheist group, the Freedom from Religion Foundation, is demanding Walker remove the post from Twitter and Facebook. They say the governor is using his position to promote Christianity and using his faith to intimidate others, saying, "To say I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me seems more like a threat." Governor Walker has no plans to take the post down. He says the verse was inspiring him that day and he wanted to share it. Well, CBN News wants to know what you think about this story. Connect with us on social media and share your thoughts. And Pat, just on a personal note, that verse has always been one of my favorites.
Well, it just shows how these atheists misinterpret Scripture. Paul is talking about the fact that he's had times that he's had to suffer. I've been abased, and then he said, I know how to abound. I know how to have good times, and I know how to have bad times, and I can do all things, which means I can overcome these trials in life. It is hardly a triumphal statement of I'm going to destroy my enemies. I mean, that whole... But the atheists don't understand the Bible. They don't want to understand the Bible, because if they did, they might get converted.
Well, even so, there's something called free speech and freedom of religion that Governor Walker's entitled to.
Well, of course he is. But I mean, these atheists will holler and yell about anything. We just can't be intimidated by them, because they're a bunch of blowhards, and we cannot allow them to win.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite scriptures as well. Well, coming up, the legal battle that takes the cake.
Apologized. I said, I'm sorry, I don't do cakes for same-sex weddings. And they said, what? I said, I'll sell you birthday cakes, shower cakes, cookies, brownies, anything else. I just don't do cakes for same-sex weddings.
Hear why this baker lands himself in hot water. And later, he's back. The club's favorite canine makes his grand return. We'll check in with Blue later on today's 700 Club.
You're the Grandpa named Pop, right?
They died when I was your age.
I saw him in heaven.
What if an ordinary boy...
Is this him?
That's Pop.
Your son had a near-death experience.
...discovered the answer to life's most extraordinary question.
Do you think my son went to heaven?
He told me everything was all right.
Based on the incredible true story.
We all want to be supportive.
I want to believe him. But everything he talks about is impossible.
Will you believe?
You saw heaven? It's beautiful.
Heaven is for real. See it this Easter. Rated PG.
Tomorrow, a return to racism.
They're inciting hatred.
Why the Nazi ideology is making a comeback.
They're poisoning the population in Hungary.
And then, one news anchor's on-air journey through cancer. Plus, a wayward husband who wanted to get caught.
I didn't have to pretend to anyone anymore.
Thursday on the 700 Club.
Last month, Jan Brewer, Arizona's governor, vetoed a controversial law known as, quote, the Religious Freedom Bill. Protesters said the law would have legalized discrimination. But some say that law and others like it is necessary. And Heather Sells is going to speak to one baker who tells us why that law is very much necessary.
On a summer day in 2012, a Colorado baker had no idea his actions would place him in the center of a national debate over faith and freedom. Jack Phillips has been baking cakes for over 20 years, much to his customers' delight. What got him into trouble, though, his refusal to bake a wedding cake for a gay couple.
I apologized. I said, I'm sorry, I don't do cakes for same-sex weddings. And they said, what? I said, I'll sell you birthday cakes, shower cakes, cookies, brownies, anything else. I just don't do cakes for same-sex weddings.
That's when the backlash began.
About 20 minutes later, the phone started ringing. And are you the bakery that just turned away the gay couple for a wedding cake? And more profanities.
A few days later, calls of support came in, leading to a return of steady business.
I'm a supporter of gay rights and gay marriage. I think that's fine. But I don't think they should be able to tell somebody what they have to make to sell.
But the American Civil Liberties Union filed a discrimination complaint on behalf of the two men. In December, a Denver judge agreed with the ACLU, ruling that Phillips would face fines if he refuses again to bake a gay wedding cake. Phillips is appealing in a legal battle that could eventually cost him his business.
Win or lose, I want to do what I believe is right according to the Bible.
Phillips joins a number of wedding vendors who say they'd rather lose their business than violate their beliefs. It's an uphill battle as they face growing legal challenges, media labels ranging from anti-gay to Jim Crow, and now mounting opposition to state religious freedom bills designed to protect them.
Same-sex marriage proponents told us no one's conscience will be violated. Everyone will be able to live and let live. Embracing gay marriage is not going to infringe on anyone's rights. And what we're seeing is that was a lie.
And this is happening only 20 years since President Clinton signed the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. The House sent it to the White House with a unanimous vote, and the Senate passed it with 97 votes. Today, 30 states have laws or similar interpretations. These laws provide a balancing test and framework for the courts to decide religious exemption cases.
Everybody gets to make a claim if you have a sincere religious belief. You're not always going to win if government has a stronger reason to make you violate your religion, but at least we have a balancing test. So now the gay rights activists don't want us to have this balancing test. They want to put a thumb on the scale and say everywhere and always the small business owner who is Christian will always lose in a same-sex marriage case.
20 years ago, gay marriage wasn't even on the radar and not considered in these laws. And many do not specifically protect small business owners. That's what led to the Arizona bill. There was also no same-sex marriage consideration in public accommodation laws. Gay advocates argue businesses that open their doors to the public must serve everyone in every case. And some Christians agree. saying those who follow Christ should be servants to all. But not Jack Phillips. He believes that Jesus, a carpenter, would not have made a bed for a gay couple.
He was accused of going to parties with drunks and sinners and tax collectors, but he didn't participate in their sin. And I believe that me making the wedding cake is participating in their wedding.
In the wake of public protests and slanted media coverage over religious freedom bills, advocates say the time for re-education is now. At stake, liberty, and America's standing as a global defender of religious freedom.
It's ironic because we still have these great religious freedoms, but if we don't soon educate and begin to make sure that we're not paring them back and that we're not giving government officials the ability to kind of slice and dice our freedoms the way that they want, we will lose that standing in the world community.
It's important that we help people understand that as people of faith, that we're not trying to use the government to push our ideas and our faith down someone else's throat, but we do expect the government to protect our rights.
In the meantime, wedding vendors like Phillips will continue to live out their faith and run their businesses.
There are people against me, there are a lot of people for me, but I believe that the Bible teaches that this is wrong, and to be obedient to Christ and his teachings supersedes all of that.
Reporting in Denver, Heather Sells, CBN News.
I think you got to remember from the Bible, you look carefully at the Bible, what would have happened in Jesus' time if two men decided they wanted to cohabit together? They would have been stoned to death. So Jesus would not have baked them a wedding cake, nor would he have made them a bed to sleep in, because they wouldn't have been there. But we don't have that in this country here, so that's the way it is. But ladies and gentlemen, I think we have to recognize what I said a few years ago. At that point, homosexual marriage was condemned. Homosexuality itself was considered a pathology. And now those who were practicing that activity have turned and become the oppressors of those who hold to deeply held religious points of view. The tables have turned, and I think it's just the way it is. But why? What is it about gays? What is it about abortion? Have you ever thought why they're on the forefront right now? Well, number one, both of them deny the reproduction of human species. An abortion destroys the product of conception, kills a baby in the womb. Homosexuality is no chance of conception, and it is a meaningless exercise because it doesn't go anywhere. The Bible intends males and females to live together in a particular union called marriage and to bring forth children. But this denies that, and it's as if the devil is trying to say, I'm going to destroy your progeny any way I can. And if you will kill your babies, that's fine, I'm with you. If you will deny the chance of having babies, that's fine too. But I want to destroy your opportunities to reproduce. It's a very serious thing, and we're not talking about it. And we need to. We need to, as a society, need to realize where the attack is coming, because it is definitely an attack. But hey, that's for another day, perhaps. Wendy?
Jesus said, I came to give life.
Life,
and the
give
devil
it more
wants to
abundantly.
steal,
Yes,
kill, and destroy.
Yeah, all right.
Welcome back to Washington for this CBN News Break. Indiana is the first state to reject the federal Common Core education standards. Governor Mike Pence sees the move as a victory for state authority and hopes others will follow suit. The Republican governor said Indiana has taken a step back, designed our own standards, and done it in a way where we drew on educators, we drew on citizens, we drew on parents, and developed standards that meet the needs of our people. Some critics say all the state did was remove the Common Core label while keeping the same benchmarks. Gunmen opened fire on a church in Kenya last Sunday, killing 3 people and wounding at least 10. It happened outside the coastal city of Mombasa. Officials say 3 attackers entered the Joyland Church during services and began shooting. Nearby, police responded swiftly, but the killers got away. Muslim-Christian tensions are high in Kenya, and many churches and Christian ministers have been attacked in recent years. Kenya borders Somalia, where Christians are being persecuted by the Islamic militant group al-Shabaab. Well, you can always get the latest from CBN News by going to our website at cbnnews.com. Pat and Wendy will be back with more of the 700 Club right after this.
Look at this amazing before and after. See why every year Lifestyle Lift wins. Over 6 million individuals just like you have already called. These people are real, the photos untouched. Imagine what a Lifestyle Lift will do for you. Learn how easy it is today. Like the millions before you, call for your free gift pack because we are the nation's #1 choice for people like you who want to look and feel younger. Their stories began like yours with an easy free phone call because like you, they cared about not looking old anymore. They look amazing, youthful, and energetic. Join countless others like you. Call today because we have a special gift just for you. Our free gift pack filled with invaluable information. Call 1-800-493-3762. No credit card needed. And when you call today, you'll receive your gift pack fast because as a free bonus, we'll expedite it. And you'll get a coupon for your facial analysis. See your new look, a $300 value free. So call 1-800-493-3762 now.
Well, by popular demand, we have back with us the great dog Blue, who's on leave. He's a certified joyologist for Operation Blessing. Yeah, and you want a treat. He just loves treats. Okay, and this is Blue. All right, here, Blue. Come on, jump. All right, sit. Yeah. Oh boy. Can you roll over? He doesn't know how to roll over, does he?
No, he thinks that's demeaning.
That's demeaning. All right, can you sit up? All right, sit. All right. He's Blue. All right, tell me about. He has been in the news. You're out enjoying the walk, and what happened? He found something.
Well, on a Saturday, Laura had him out in the woods behind our house, and he found a statue, a nativity statue of Mary in a manger, but the baby Jesus was missing. But Blue found that thing and alerted Laura to it, and then she told me about it that night. We went back out the next day and picked it up and brought it back, called some churches, hoping to find the rightful owner. Evidently, someone had stolen it and taken it out in the woods. And I called a reporter friend at the Virginia Pilot. They put an article in the paper, and the owners surfaced. They sent us an email. They came over.
The baby?
They were sorry.
You got the baby? The owner brought the baby?
No baby Jesus. We looked everywhere.
Oh, okay.
But that was a sad part of the story. But
Blue
it did.
found the crash.
Absolutely, he found it, and he kept going back to Laura and whining the way he's sort of whining right now. But he wanted her to see that statue.
All right, come here. All right, little thing. Okay. All right, sit down. Okay. All right.
Come here,
Blue.
Good boy.
Yeah. Oh, you're a good boy. Can you shake hands? You do any tricks I taught you? You forgotten all those tricks? You do other kind of tricks now, don't you? I taught him to do all kinds of tricks, but he didn't do it anymore.
Yeah, I think he forgot some of those.
Did you forget to do it? All right, here. No, jump. Oh, man, you could. Man, what a beautiful. Isn't he gorgeous? How many Facebook friends? I said 35,000. Is 3,500 or 4,500?
Yeah, about 4,500.
4,500 Facebook. Stop it. All right, sit. Good grief. All right, you like these treats, don't you? Okay. Oh, he's so beautiful. Sit. All right. Well, now he travels in style, and you've got him a Blue Mobile.
Yeah, Laura's got that scooter for him. And
all right, let's see. Do we got a picture of the scooter? There he is. That scooter? What's he doing?
He's pulling it. He's in a harness, you see. And,
he's pulling it?
Yeah, he's providing the locomotion for that thing, and he's getting exercise, and he really likes that.
Oh, and so that's a little scooter for her. It's not a bicycle. It's like a. Did you have it specially made?
Well, a fellow out in Bend, Oregon, named Mark, has come up with this thing, and he's up in his 60s. And unlike you and I, Pat, he had to slow down.
I understand. Well, we don't do that.
But he's looking for a way to exercise, get some exercise for himself and some for his dog, and he invented that thing.
You're a good boy.
Blue loves it.
Yeah. So he's got 4,500. Look at that going.
Yeah, he's.
Oh. All right. Well, Blue, you're terrific. So he's out, a joyologist for Operation Blessing.
He makes people smile, Pat. That's his job, and he's good at it.
Well, he is a spoiled baby. You actually cover him up with a blanket when he goes to bed at night?
If we don't, well, at least one. He would prefer two. But if we don't cover him up, he'll cry until we do.
Are you serious?
He'll cry like a little girl.
Blue, you don't cry, do you, buddy? Okay. All right. Well, you want to let him? Well, he's good. Well, anyhow, you can keep up with Blue's latest adventures. You go to Facebook.com. Facebook.com/Blues Notes. So anyhow, we had him from a puppy, and he hadn't recognized me much anymore, I think.
Oh, he loves you, man. When he looks over at your house all the time. When you come on TV, he alerts and he looks at that TV.
Blue, what are you looking at? He's looking at himself. That's what he is. Okay. well, Blue, thanks for being here. Come here, buddy. Come here. Blue, where you go? You're leaving me, are you? All right. All right, where are you going? All right, well, go see him. All right, sit, Blue. Good boy. Yeah, there you can shake hands. There you go. There you go. You're a good boy. Okay, well, Wendy, you're next.
Come here, Blue. I want to play with you. Well, still ahead. Time to bring it on with your email questions. Joey says, my girlfriend and I just got engaged. We're living together. Will God bless our marriage even though we are disobeying his word? We'll tackle that and much more later on today's 700 Club.
You had a grandpa named Pop, right?
They died when I was your age.
I saw him in heaven.
What if an ordinary boy
Is this him?
That's Pop.
Your son had a near-death experience.
discovered the answer to life's most extraordinary question?
Do you think my son went to heaven?
He told me everything was all right.
Based on the incredible true story.
We all want to be supportive.
I want to believe him. But everything he talks about is impossible.
Will you believe?
You saw heaven? It's beautiful.
Heaven is for real. See it this Easter. Rated PG.
What would you do in a medical emergency?
This is Life Alert. Are you okay?
Help! I've fallen and I can't get up.
I'm calling for help right now.
Fire emergency.
Sharon, we received a smoke signal coming from your kitchen. Get out now. We're calling the fire department.
Home intrusion. Emergencies away from home.
I think someone may be following me.
I'm right here and will stay on the line with you and we can contact the police if necessary.
If it weren't for Life Alert, I wldn't be sitting here today.
Life Alert saves a life from a catastrophe every 11 minutes.
For a free Life Alert brochure, call 1-800-298-8601. That's 1-800-298-8601. Call now at 1-800-298-8601 to get a free brochure. 1-800-298-8601. 1-800-298-8601.
All right, it's time to bring it on with your email questions, and we've got some good ones here, Pat. Joey writes, my girlfriend and I just got engaged, and we're planning a wedding for next year. We're currently living together and have for a while now. We want God to bless our marriage, but since we've lived together first before marriage, will God forgive us and bless our marriage? We're Christians and have accepted God into our lives.
You know, what you're doing right now, if I can be honest, is called fornication, and it's wrong. Well, that's marriage. Let me suggest that you've got a big formal wedding coming up with all the bells and whistles. Well, good for you. Why don't you have a time where the two of you commit yourselves together for life and say, you know, I take you as my wife and I take you as my husband, and you could do that and dedicate yourselves together for life as a solemn engagement. Then, in the eyes of the Lord, you're married. You don't have to have a justice of the peace. You don't have to have a minister. If you commit yourself to one another and mean it in your heart, that's a solemn vow. Now, in terms of the law, you need a whole lot more than that, but I'm just talking about before God. But what you're doing now is just wrong, and you ask God to bless you. He will bless you, and He'll forgive what's happened in the past. But you need to start getting your act together right now, it seems like to me. All right, a viewer writes, I asked Jesus into my heart a couple of years ago. At the time, I believed that He saved me and that He had forgiven me for my sins. I believe that Jesus died on the cross for me and paid my debt and that He rose from the dead. I still believe all of that. However, since then, doubts keep coming into my mind. What if I wasn't sincere enough when I prayed the sinner's prayer? Or what if I didn't tell somebody right away after it happened? I'm worried about my salvation. I feel like I'm not really saved because I have these doubts. Have you heard of anyone else with the same doubts? Please help. Happens all the time. The Bible says that the Holy Spirit will witness to our spirit that we're children of God. And the question is not that you pray the right prayer with the right people, but did you truly give yourself to the Lord? And if He truly came into your life, then there'll be a witness. And one of the witnesses is that you live for Him and keep His commandments, that you love Him and are living for Him on a day-to-day basis. And the Holy Spirit will witness with your spirit that you're a child of God. But I recommend that you get apart and with the Bible and you and the Lord, and you just say, God, I give my heart to you, I give myself to you, and I ask you to come and take over. I am totally yours. And from this moment on, I belong to you, and I ask you to give me the witness of the Holy Spirit. But are there doubts? Of course there are. Of course there are. So that doesn't mean that you have lost your salvation or anything else. But God knows your heart. And He also will give you the witness of His Spirit as you grow closer and closer and closer to Him. Okay.
All right. Elisha writes, I grew up in the Pentecostal church. As I got older, I lost touch with my spiritual life. 2 years ago, I returned to church and got saved. I go to a non-denominational church mostly, but sometimes I go to a more traditional church. At one church, they jump around and speak in tongues, while the other one is much more reserved. Why the difference? Is one church right while the other one is lost, or can we worship in many different ways?
I think, look, if I run an electric current into your hands, chances are you're going to jump around.
Right.
You might fall on the floor. You might, be shocked. All right. But if the current is flowing through you, you don't necessarily have these reactions. So a lot of heat in a conducting material means that there's a blockage in there. If it's conductivity, you don't want heat in your wires or heat in your electric appliances. You want the current to flow, and you want the machine to work and to function. So a lot of these emotional outbursts that you see are people, the flesh actually responding against the Spirit. The Spirit comes and bang, instead of flowing. But different strokes for different folks. God's got a whole panoply of spiritual experience. The big thing is what's in your heart. God is a spirit. Those that worship Him worship in spirit and in truth. And whether it's the Westminster Confession or whether it's the Articles of the Episcopal Church or whatever it is, God is looking for somebody who worship in spirit and in truth. All right, real quick.
Amen. All right, Robert writes, the King James Bible says a woman can remarry if her husband is dead without being an adulteress. What kind of dead? Dead in the spirit? A non-believer, an atheist, blasphemer, a hater of God is dead in the spirit. Why must a godly married woman have to spend a lifetime with a man that is dead in the Lord? The Bible doesn't say dead as in not breathing, but just dead.
Darling, you are too smart by half. Dead means physically dead.
Right.
It doesn't mean spiritually dead or, inattentive or doesn't know how to cook or any of that. That's not dead. Dead is dead. And if your spouse, and it also is not talking, it says if an unbeliever, that's anybody dying. And of course, if an unbeliever you're married to and he's pleased to depart, let him depart. The brother or sister is not bound in that case, according to that's called the Pauline privilege. But you married this guy. I'm sorry, you married him. I didn't marry him. Wendy didn't marry him. You married him. You made a decision.
Dead is dead.
Huh?
Dead is dead.
Well, I know, but
not just spiritually dead.
You can't come out and say, well, now that I've been married for 20 years, I realize this clown is too much. I think what you need to do is pray that the Lord will get His hand on him, and the two of you maybe can go to counseling. And if it's an abusive relationship, you don't have to necessarily live in that abusive relationship. But it also doesn't mean you can get remarried. So there are a lot of little tricks along the way, which I can't go into right now. But the biggest thing is pray for your husband. Pray that the Lord will revive his heart and that he will come alive in the Lord, because, you know, if you love the Lord, you want everybody else to know him. And you certainly want your loved ones, those close to you, to know him. Okay, well, thank you for those questions. We get some tremendous questions.
Don't we? I just love them. Fascinating and great answers, as always.
Okay.
Well, we will be back with more of the 700 Club right after this.
When you get to a certain point in life, you know what you need and what you don't.
That's why we love Consumer Cellular. Finally, we have a wireless plan that fits us to a T.
Oh, excuse me. Would you sell these separately? I only need 2.
Well, certainly. You shouldn't buy more than you need.
Well, I wish the rest of the world felt that way.
That's why we use Consumer Cellular. You can change your plan anytime to make sure you get the best price for the minutes you use. And they start at just $10 a month.
$10?
Mm-hmm.
Consumer Cellular. Simple plans with award-winning service and no contracts at about half the cost of other carriers. Start your risk-free trial today. Switching couldn't be easier. You can even keep your number, get free activation and free shipping, or pick out your new phone at Sears. Consumer Cellular is the exclusive wireless provider for AARP members. Ask about your special discounts.
Call Consumer Cellular at 1-800-789-5039. Go online at consumercellular.com or visit a Sears store today.
Tomorrow, a return to racism.
They're inciting hatred.
Why the Nazi ideology is making a comeback.
They're poisoning the population in Hungary.
And then, one news anchor's on-air journey through cancer. Plus, a wayward husband who wanted to get caught.
I didn't have to pretend to anyone anymore.
Thursday on the 700 Club.
Well, in many cultures, gypsies are considered social outcasts, so it's hard for them to find work outside their camps. That's why CBN is helping gypsy families in Ukraine start businesses of their own. Take a look.
For generations, gypsy families in Ukraine have lived in a cycle of poverty. Christina's life has been filled with need and hunger.
Everything is so hard here. When I get older and have children, I really want more for them. I don't want them to experience what I went through.
So she works hard in school and wants to get a good job one day.
I realized in the 6th grade what I want to become a hairdresser when I grow up. I asked my parents to pay for my hairdressing courses, but they said we didn't have enough money for food, let alone extra classes.
Christina goes to a church supported by CBN. She gave her life to Christ and is now in one of the worship groups.
I keep asking God to help make my dreams come true.
At one of our summer camps in Ukraine, Christina met a volunteer who was teaching people to cut hair. She realized Christina has a natural talent for this kind of work.
Thousands of gypsy families live in camps like this in western Ukraine. Considered social outcasts by society, it's very difficult for them to find work outside the camp. That's why we're helping Christina to learn job skills she can use right here in her own community.
We knew Christina could succeed on her own, so we bought her all the tools she needed to start her own business. Now she's earning extra money for her family. And we helped her family start farming potatoes.
Because of you, we're no longer hungry. I dreamed of being a hairdresser for a long time, and now it's reality. Thank you so much for helping us.
And when you join the 700 Club, you help people all around the world, like the gypsies in Ukraine and people right here at home. It's real easy. Just give us a call, 1-800-759-0700, and just say yes. It's just 65 cents a day to change the world. And when you do that, we're going to bless you, excuse me, with Gordon's new teaching called Visions of the Night, how God speaks to us in dreams and visions. This is a great teaching. If you're a dreamer like me, you want to get a hold of this. So again, the number on your screen, or you can log on to cbn.com. Pat?
Thanks, Wendy. We appreciate everybody being with us for this edition of the 700 Club. We leave you to today's Power Minute, taken from the prophet Jeremiah. For I will restore health to you and heal you of your wounds, says the Lord. Well, that's all the time we've got. Remember, tomorrow, We have a special feature. Could the Nazis be staging a comeback? Here where the anti-Semites are rising to power. You don't want to miss that. That's on Thursday. And so until then, for all of us, this is Pat Robertson saying goodbye and God bless you.
Tomorrow, a return to racism.
They're inciting hatred.
Why the Nazi ideology is making a comeback.
They're poisoning the population in Hungary.
And then, one news anchor's on-air journey through cancer. Plus, a wayward husband who wanted to get caught.
I didn't have to pretend to anyone anymore.
Thursday on the 700 Club.
Give me that. Bye. Sure, life is busy, but I found a way to make a huge difference in people's lives. I guess you could say I'm changing the world right here from home. I bring medical supplies and doctors to people in need, and dig wells so that villagers can have clean and safe water to drink. I make it possible to preach the gospel in over 100 countries, including right here in America. And when disaster strikes, I'm there, providing food, thank you, and emergency supplies to give people hope again. Every day, CBN and I are making the world a better place. Here you go. My life is hectic, so I joined CBN through Pledge Express. My bank does all the work, and I know that my gift is being used where it's needed most. So become a CBN partner and join Pledge Express, because you can do a world of good right from where you are. Hi, good morning. Are you ready to get started?